Fibromyalgia is a word that you've probably heard. A lot of people tend to have it, especially in middle-aged women. And some people think that it's all in the head. But for these people, there are some surprises in store. So I hope you'll stay with us as we discuss this rather common disorder, fibromyalgia.
The following program presents principles designed to promote good health and is not intended to take the place of personalized professional care. The opinions and ideas expressed are those of the speaker. Viewers are encouraged to draw their own conclusions about the information presented. Welcome to Help Yourself to Health with Dr. Agatha Thrash of Uchee Pines Institute. And now, here's your host, Dr. Thrash.
There are a lot of symptoms associated with fibromyalgia. In fact, they are widespread in the body. And sometimes a person looking on who does not actually themselves feel the symptoms, they think, well, this probably could not possibly be something that's real. It's probably simply something that's just in the head. The person is just thinking these things are true when they really are not. But there is such a list of things that people can suffer from. I'd like just to read some of these for you. It can be, of course, it's primarily diffuse and rather widespread pain, but with some tender points in certain areas. In addition to these tender points and the tenderness all over, there may be fatigue, sleep disturbances, digestive complaints of various kinds, bladder complaints of various kinds, chronic headaches, feeling not well, feeling sensations here and there that are not real, hearing things that are not there, and or having noises in the head, being dizzy or unsteady on the feet. All of these are things that people can feel and more. There are many other symptoms that people with fibromyalgia may have. The disorder is fairly common, and for those people who have it, it's really quite a serious problem. It's not known why it occurs, but there are some things that are now developing because of research that seem to point a finger in certain areas. So we'd like to present some of those. The diagnosis is based on the symptoms mainly and the history of these symptoms, and the treatment is unfortunately non-specific. We just treat the symptoms and hope for the best. But there is some good news, and that is that it does tend to sort of burn itself out. So after a few years, the person does say they are better and they are feeling quite well. Now I'd like to show you some of these tender points, and if you will look here at the board, you will see these points that I have drawn on the board, but then I would also like to show these to you on a person. So I've asked Justina Thomas if she would come and help me to show that. So Justina, come, and I will let you just face the people this way, and I will show you where these points are located on a real person. They are paired areas. In all places that you find these in the body, the tender points are paired areas. One is right here. So if you push your fingers right there for the person and they say ouch, then you've probably hit the spot. Now right here, here is another spot. So if you press on this area just under the collarbone, which is here, you press right there and the person says ouch, you've probably hit one of the tender spots. Then right at the elbow, right here and right here, always symmetrical. If you press in this area and the person says ouch, then you've hit one of the spots. Now there are two others, as you can see, at the knee. Now on the back, there are 4 paired spots on the front and 5 paired spots on the back. As in the front, there are 2 on the neck, high up. Here's the base of the skull right here, and just below that, on the neck, there are 2 points. Then going out a little way on the shoulder, right here, there are 2 points. That feel tender?
Yes.
She has it. And then there are 2 others that are right here. That feel tender?
Yes.
Okay, she's probably got it. Now, to find this other one, it's done simply this way. Put your hands on the waist, and then just about the extent of your thumbs, if you just reach down like that, you'll find some little dimples on the skeleton there, and it's where those little dimples are that you have the problem. Then just under the buttocks, on the edges of the thighs, you will find the other tender spot. Now, fortunately, Justina does not have the problem, but these are the spots that you can check. Just rub them or press on them, and if you elicit pain, then, and the person has generalized pain and some of these other problems, then that may be helpful to make the diagnosis of fibromyalgia. Thank you, Justina. Now, as I mentioned, there are numerous research projects going on this very baffling problem of fibromyalgia. And one of those has to do with digestive problems. And Dr. Don Miller, who is here with me today, he is going to tell you about one of these digestive complaints that may have some pay dirt in establishing what this disorder is. Mm-hmm. Dr. Miller?
Yes, a lot of nice studies coming out. This is from the Annals of Rheumatic Disease. It says an association between irritable bowel syndrome and small intestinal bacteria overgrowth has been found. So IBS, or irritable bowel syndrome, which is I'm going to talk about right now, could be associated with small intestine bacterial overgrowth. All right, let's go to the next one. This comes out of Cedars of Sinai, UCLA School of Medicine. Evidence that inflammatory bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome, could be associated with fibromyalgia. So now we say that fibromyalgia could be associated with irritable bowel syndrome, which could be associated with small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And so these could be a causal link right here. There's another study that came out as far as symptomatic, trying to see if there is symptoms here for irritable bowel syndrome. 92% of people with IBS have bloating. And so if you constantly feel bloated, there's a good possibility that you have irritable bowel syndrome. Of course, we find that things in our intestinal tract can certainly cause this type of bloating. Now, there are some symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome that we need to look at. There's basically 3 different types. One, there's people with constipation that's accompanied by pain. Of course, I'd say most people are chronically constipated just because of the lifestyles that we have, but constipation with pain. Normally, constipation does not have pain until we try to pass the stools, but we're talking about constipation and constant pain. Then there's alternating between diarrhea and constipation. Normally, the diarrhea will come upon first rising and at breakfast time, and then the rest of the day there'll be constipation. If you're following this pattern, good chance that you have irritable bowel syndrome. Then there's painless diarrhea accompanied by mucus. So if you always have diarrhea and there seems to be a lot of mucus in your stools, then it could be a sign that you have irritable bowel syndrome. There's other symptoms there. We got gas. Of course, gas could be formed by many different things in our dietary, our very lifestyles. If you find that every once in a while you have gas, the best way to find out what's causing my gas is do what we call keep a food diary. Every time you have a meal, you write down what you eat, and then you start writing down symptoms. If you have a symptom that every once in a while you have, write down the symptom, write down what you're eating until you see a pattern developing. It seems like every time I eat peanuts, I start itching the next day. And if you find that pattern, then apparently your problem's peanuts, or your problem's beans or greens or something else. Find out what it is. Person with IBS will often be nauseated. This is something going wrong in the stomach, in the intestinal tract, can cause nausea. Bad breath. We realize if you have maldigestion, things going on in the intestinal tract, it's going to back up and you'll start to smell it through the breath. Bloating, weakness, appetite loss, even faintness, all are signs of irritable bowel syndrome. Usually it appears between the ages of 20 and 50. Women have it about twice as much as men do for some reason, and about 1/5 of the Americans have this particular problem. So it's not an uncommon problem, and there's some simple things you can do for irritable bowel syndrome, and if that's associated with fibromyalgia, then this is a track we want to take to try to take care of it. The reason why you have the sometimes diarrhea and sometimes the constipation is a spasmodic contraction of the colon. If it goes too fast, you're going to have diarrhea. If it goes too slow, you're going to have constipation, because the purpose of the colon is to take up moisture and prepare it for exiting the body. And so a spasmodic, sometimes it's going too fast, sometimes it's going too slow. You're going to have your diarrhea and constipation going back and forth. So what can you do to treat irritable bowel syndrome? Well, since it said over here in this one particular study that it's associated with a bacterial overgrowth and also other things growing in the colon, then there are some certain things that we can take that are vermicides that will kill off worms, bacteria, funguses, and other things growing in our intestinal tract. Let me just read some of these. I'm going to read them rather slowly, because if you think you have this problem, and let's go beyond this problem. Let's go to, you're going to be traveling in another country where you might pick up a bug that you don't want to have, or you might have some type of intestinal parasites from whatever reason. If you have pruritus ani, you're always scratching at the anus or other things, it could be a sign. And so here's some of the things that you can take to help purge these things from your system. Aloe vera is very good. You can take it in a number of forms. You can go to the store and buy some aloe vera liquid and drink it that way. I like to just take an aloe vera plant. I've got a bunch of them growing in my windowsill in my office. I'll take a whole leaf off, cut it, cut the little spines off, wash it off, and I'll drop the whole thing into a blender along with a banana and some pineapple juice and whiz that up, and it makes sort of a chiffon, and so I'm getting my aloe vera juice in a very pleasant way. Wormwood. Now I'm going to mention a few herbs here that are extremely good. I would not travel overseas without these things. Wormwood is one. Another one is Echinacea Goldenseal. These are very common herbs in America. Goldenseal is extremely expensive, but get some, have it on hand. Cloves. Now, we don't recommend you eat cloves all the time because they are a spice and can be irritating to the intestinal tract, but it's very good for expelling things that should not be growing there. Burdock. Another extremely good vermicide is black walnut. I usually buy it in a tincture form that you put into a, if you buy something that's been extracted by alcohol, I don't recommend you taking the dropper and just putting it into your mouth, because any alcohol is not good. Here's what I do. I bring some water to a boil, a cup of water. I pour the water into a cup. I add my extract and let the heat dissipate the alcohol. Just a few moments and it's all dissipated, and then you can drink it with perfect safety. Grapefruit seed extract, another thing I will not travel without when I go overseas. I usually carry a few bottles because I end up giving it away to other people I find along the way. I will add it to all water I drink overseas taken from a common source. I'll try to buy bottled water, but anyway, the GSE, grapefruit seed extract, is extremely good for expelling these types of things and establishing a good flora in your intestinal tract. Pumpkin seeds and figs are very good. Another thing is get some diatomaceous earth. You can buy diatomaceous earth, capsulize it, or you can buy it in capsules, and take this for about 3 weeks. If you have worms, other types of parasites, they'll eat it, and it will cause them to disintegrate. Very good thing to take, and it won't hurt you at all. Garlic, onions, cabbage, and carrots are extremely good. They're all high in sulfur. The animals that may be inhabiting your intestinal tract don't like them, so take those. Garlic is extremely good. I go to places in the world, over there in Africa, I go to this little place called Shingoma, and there's a lot of people living in the area with asthma and worms and other things, and so I take garlic to them and I say, plant the garlic. I give them enough to take right then and enough to grow, so garlic is great to have. I would take some garlic drops or some garlic capsules with you, and extremely good for irritable bowel syndrome. Bilberry, tarragon, and mugwort also are very good as expellers of these types of things from your system. So I would recommend you take them. You can apply heat to the abdomen when you have irritable bowel syndrome, because it's very good for causing a relaxation and taking away the pain. Charcoal is very good for the gas. Now, charcoal will take care of the gas, but find out what's causing the gas, and then you won't have to take it in the first place. Swallowing air. Now, when do we swallow air? People who drink sodas, all that all that fizziness, they're swallowing that. It will cause bloating and cause more gas. Increase the bran and fiber in the diet, basically by eating fruits and vegetables in their natural state and whole grains, and drinking plenty of water along with this. And extremely regular. Be on a regular schedule. Extremely good for irritable bowel syndrome. That means you're eating at the same time every day, you're going to bed at the same time every day, you're exercising at the same time every day. And never eat food before going to bed at night. So these are some simple things that you can do for irritable bowel syndrome. And as you follow these simple steps, God's promised if we do our part, He will do His part. So you pray, and if there's something I haven't mentioned, ask Him. Say, Father, what else can I do? And He will give you some simple things to do. And if you find out something that works for you, you call us and let us know. And that's pretty much how you found out all the simple remedies that you put in all of your books, isn't it, Dr. Thrash?
We found a lot that way. I'm very happy that there is a lot of research now going on to establish the validity of very simple things. Take the one for fibromyalgia that just came out about 6 or 8 months ago about vitamin D. Deficiency in vitamin D has a widespread group of symptoms, some of them very much like fibromyalgia. So someone got the idea in, I think it was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and they found that by giving people vitamin D, they could make a change in the symptoms that people have. So then they checked the vitamin D levels of all people that they had, all patients who came in with fibromyalgia. They checked them for their vitamin D level in the blood. And they found that as a general class, the people with fibromyalgia tend to have low B12 level, vitamin D levels. And so what we are now recommending is that many people, not just people with fibromyalgia, but many people get an annual vitamin D level run in the blood. It can be very revealing. Now there's another one that comes out of Boston, also very recently, and Boston University School of Medicine did a very nice research project on vitamin D in its relationship to fibromyalgia, and found essentially the same thing, that giving vitamin D to people with fibromyalgia will often improve their symptoms. Here is another one that is published in a journal called Medical Hypotheses, and this one shows that that chronic inflammation can be a problem for people who have fibromyalgia. They found that the stress of between various cells of the vascular tree could release some nitrous oxide into the blood, and that caused a relaxation. But in these individuals with fibromyalgia, they tended not to have such good shear forces, and consequently did not release as much nitrous oxide. And so they postulated that chronic inflammation was a factor. So they did some tests that revealed that chronic inflammation was going on in these people and in the whole class of patients who have fibromyalgia, and by eliminating inflammation, they could improve the fibromyalgia. Here's another very interesting study that was done with a Staphylococcus vaccine. What they did was to take the Staphylococcus and make a staph vaccine. Then they injected it into patients with fibromyalgia, and they found that giving the vaccine improved a number of things about the patient. Their ability to neutralize a staph antigen greatly improved, and they also were able to neutralize a staph toxin. That also improved. So while they were doing this, they discovered that the IgG, the immune globulin G, was also improved in these individuals, but not in the controls. None of these things were present in the control people who were normal, but did improve in the people with fibromyalgia. So as you can see, there are a number of things that are now being found, and another one of those is an interesting one, and Dr. Don Miller will talk with you about that right now.
Yeah, sometimes I read some of these studies and I'm absolutely amazed at what science is investigating. I wonder, why did they go down this road? But I'm glad they went down this road. This one from the Journal of Women's Health. The title of the study is asking a question: use less cosmetics, suffer less from fibromyalgia. And basically, here's one of the premises. Fibromyalgia patients often complained of dry skin. And so the person conducting this study hypothesized that perhaps it's all this cosmetics and the dry skin and the moisturizers could be causing the problem. It says here, overambitious cleaning resulting in dry skin and regular use of cosmetics as moisturizers could contribute to their symptoms. And so he took a group of women who used makeup and who did not use makeup and found out what is the result here. After 2 years in this study, here's what he found. After 2 years, there was a significant improvement in pain, which is one of the major problems with fibromyalgia. Improvement in sleep, another symptom of fibromyalgia, sleep lost, and stiffness, together with better physical function and improved well-being. Something as simple as not rubbing the stuff on your face, and it could be a real good way of not having the fibromyalgia problems. As Dr. Thrash, it sounds like a pretty cheap and sane way of doing it.
Very good way, and I'm very happy that we have that one. Here is another one that shows that if there is some kind of obstruction to the intake of air when one is sleeping, that can be associated very closely with fibromyalgia. And then if they put a machine for positive pressure air, then they found that these patients greatly improved. Then here is another one that hooked up some women with fibromyalgia to an EEG, an electroencephalogram, and they found that sleep spindles were abnormal in the women with fibromyalgia. In fact, they might have a decreased number and decreased quality of the sleep spindles that are the hallmark of good sleep. Then another study, this one showed that fibromyalgia might be an autoimmune disorder. Very complicated study, but very nicely done, and indicated that it may be associated with or actually be an immune disorder. Now, another thing that Dr. Miller is going to talk with you about is one of the hallmarks of fibromyalgia, and then I will tell you a few things to do to treat it.
Well, I'm going to mention one thing that's very good for perhaps treating the symptoms and the problems caused by it. This was found in the International Journal of Psychiatry and Medicine. They were trying to study the fact that fibromyalgia is often caused by stress. Psychological stress has been linked both with the beginning of fibromyalgia and the symptom severity. And so they found that people who are religious, and here's the conclusion of the study right down here at the bottom. These data, the data they have in the study, suggest that religiousness, the religiousness of a person, the religious spiritual connection with God, may have a protective effect upon a patient with fibromyalgia. There's another thing that you can do as far as perhaps diagnosing fibromyalgia. We find that women with fibromyalgia urinated 8 or more times during the day, compared to 6 times for women who do not have fibromyalgia. And so perhaps there's something about the abnormally high frequency in urination as characteristic feature of fibromyalgia. So that's just one of the other signs that if you have frequent urination during the day, and sometimes urgency means you got to go but you can't go very much, it could be a sign that that is in fact fibromyalgia.
Very good diagnostic feature there. Now, as to the treatment, some of these are very nice treatments. Here is one that's depressed mood often means that the kind of treatment that you're going to give may be a failure. So the first thing to do is to relieve the depression that the person feels. And often the fibromyalgia itself makes the person depressed. They wonder, what is wrong with me? People think that I'm just putting on. I really don't feel good. I'm not lazy. I'm sick. And yet they look good. They're strong, but they just have these disabling symptoms. So first, correct that, and any other kind of treatment that you do will be more helpful. And then here is one of spa therapy. I like this one. It almost makes me want to have fibromyalgia just to get to do the treatment. This was a study done in Turkey. It'd be nice to go to a spa and get treatment at the spa and enjoy the spa. Here is one, swimming, another good treatment. But people with fibromyalgia who entered into swimming therapy, they did far better than those who did not do it. And while none of these treatments is entirely curative, they do help so much that they're well worth the trial to do. And here's another study. This was low-intensity aerobic exercise, such as walking or riding a bicycle at low speed. Nothing that's exhausting nor debilitating in it for a person who is not well, but something they can easily do. And the tender points improved, and the general tenderness also improved quite a lot. Here's another one that I would really enjoy, and that's baths in the Dead Sea. That's a fun thing, sounds like a fun thing to do. Here is one that is obvious why it would help, and that's hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Oxygen given in a chamber that's under pressure, and that has been found to be helpful for a number of patients. Then here is one that was done in Utah, giving patients ribose, which is a sugar that's associated with the energy capsules that we make in the body, and this was shown to be very helpful in repleting the reserves of energy that these people have with fibromyalgia. Now again, the good news is that fibromyalgia tends to get better in a few years. And even if it's all by itself, even if it's not helped by any of these nice treatments, it will still get better eventually. So the woman should not be depressed, she should not be discouraged, she should do some of these exercises and expect that the Lord is going to give her complete relief. May the Lord bless you with relief.